And you have to respect that, right?
Right.
Come here, baby.
I appreciate it if you wouldn't use the word baby for a while.
Come here.
What I didn't know is he actually called me from the hospital, and he was already had been hospitalized.
He brought us together. If it wasn't for him, you know, we would not be the family that we are. So it was magical.
What was it really like working on the Bernie Mac show? Did everything seem perfect on screen, but not behind the scenes? Kellita Smith, who played Bernie Mac's wife, is now sharing tragic secrets about her time on the show. Were there struggles that fans never knew about?
We bonded in a simple thing of getting a job, but really what came together was we connected as a family.
How did these experiences affect her and others on set? Let's find out the untold truth about this beloved TV series.
Who you with?
The Bernie Mac show was all about humor and family life. Bernie Mac played himself, a tough but loving uncle who suddenly had to take care of his sister's 3 kids. It showed the fun and struggles of raising kids and Bernie's hilarious way of handling things. The show made people laugh because it felt real but funny. Bernie Mac's jokes and caring heart made him unforgettable. Sadly, the show was full of ups and downs, especially when it came to creative differences with the network. Bernie Mac always had a clear vision for the show. He wanted it to reflect the humor and authenticity of his stand-up routines. However, network executives at Fox sometimes had different ideas about what they wanted the show to look like, leading to clashes about the show's direction and tone. Larry Wilmore, who created the show, knew Bernie Mac was the perfect fit.
Bernie was so raw in the clubs. If you were a watered-down version of Bernie on TV, it just wasn't going to work because people didn't want to see that.
Larry had been impressed by Bernie's performance in the original Kings of Comedy, where Bernie did a memorable bit about caring for his sister's kids. This story idea inspired Larry, and he knew it would make a good foundation for a show. Larry thought if they focused on Bernie's character taking care of his sister's kids, it would bring heart and humor to the story. He felt that the emotional side of this setup would help audiences connect with Bernie on a deeper level. When the Bernie Mac show first aired on Fox in November 2001, it quickly gained attention. Viewers loved the way Bernie broke the fourth wall, speaking directly to the audience as if he were letting them in on his private thoughts. This unique style helped make the show popular. The show's first season averaged 9.5 million viewers, a strong start. It even won an Emmy for writing and a Peabody Award, which celebrates excellence in storytelling.
What I'm saying is, I can pimp this ride.
Yeah, pimp it. Pimp it out.
But despite these successes, Fox still didn't seem fully satisfied with the show. In its second season, the Bernie Mac show was put in a challenging time slot, directly competing with ABC's popular sitcom, My Wife and Kids, which starred Damon Wayans. Though Bernie's show had good ratings, My Wife and Kids often had even more viewers. This head-to-head competition created pressure, and the Bernie Mac show often struggled to pull in as many viewers as My Wife and Kids, though it still had a loyal fan base and improved its ratings in its second season.
They couldn't understand him. And one of the ways you were pivotal is being able not to change him, but to present him in a way that worked for him. And then he took off.
Exactly.
In an interview, he remembered that after they won the Emmy, a Fox executive even said, "Well, I guess now we can't fire him." Max had disagreements with network executives over the show's content and direction. Bernie was very protective of his style, which led to some clashes with the producers. Larry Wilmore also had issues with the network from the start, especially when they started to interfere with his ideas for the show.
I'm not playing, man. How many Mexicans you know in the NBA?
Say, man, we don't need him.
The relationship between Bernie and Larry began to fall apart in the middle of the second season. Larry mentioned in interviews that he felt the network tried to come between him and Bernie. He even wondered if Bernie's personal struggles or feelings about the show's ownership played a role in their conflicts. Larry thought Bernie may have felt that his own ideas were being taken away. Larry was eventually fired from the show in the middle of the second season. Fox executives felt the show wasn't getting enough laughs, and they often gave Larry notes on how to change things. One major disagreement happened when Bernie's character spanked Jordan, his nephew, in the drugstore in the very first episode. Larry ignored the network's complaint, saying that in black families, spanking kids is common. This comment did not sit well with the executives, and it was one of many disagreements.
I thought you had to go home.
Don't you worry about that. You focus on your A-.
After Larry left, Fox changed the show's time slot, which helped it get more viewers. The Bernie Mac show would last for another 3 years on Fox, but the ratings would continue to decline due to the constant shuffling of the show's time slot. First, it was on Wednesdays, and they moved the show to Sundays, then Mondays and back to Wednesdays, before finally settling on Fridays. Fans found it hard to keep up. The third season was scheduled to start on October 29, 2003, but was postponed due to the OC being moved. Instead, the series started the season at the late date of November 30th, 2003. The ratings were mediocre, despite the large ratings of its lead-in The Simpsons. In March 2004, the show was moved to Monday nights in a plan to boost ratings for the new show Cracking Up. But the ratings were low for both shows. Cracking Up was canceled, and the Bernie Mac show was pulled from May sweeps with leftover episodes that aired in June, one of which included an episode about Thanksgiving. The Bernie Mac show returned to its original time slot on September 8, 2004, to start the fourth season. The production was shut down a month later due to Bernie's sickness. The show returned on January 14, 2005, with new episodes on Friday nights. Although the ratings were low enough that commentators questioned the show's future, especially when it was postponed from May sweeps again, the show was renewed for a fifth season. The fifth season started September 23, 2005, on Friday nights and beginning mid-season. Airings were followed by reruns of the show. The final season of the show averaged 3.6 million viewers. Despite the show's low ratings, the show won 3 consecutive NRACP Image Awards for Outstanding Comedy Series. Bernie himself would take home 4 straight NRACP Awards for Outstanding Actor in a Comedy Series. The series aired its final episode on April 14, 2006.
Ship my doggone beer up like they don't make no doggone sense.
Now, Kellita Smith, who played Wanda on the show, it was more than just a job. It was a life-changing experience. In an interview, Kellita talked about how the cast felt like a real family and shared stories that will make you laugh and even feel a little emotional.
It was, it was unique. And
Kellita said working with Bernie Mac was fantastic. She described him as not just a great comedian, but someone who brought people together. The cast: Kellita, Jeremy Suarez, Jordan, Camille Winbush, Vanessa, and Dee Dee Davis, Brianna, bonded deeply while filming. We connected as a family, Kellita shared. It was enriching, and it's a treasure. These are relationships that will last forever. Even though Bernie is gone, he's still with us, she said. He brought us together, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have this family bond. Kellita reflected on Bernie Mac's passing in 2008, which happened before the social media era. She first heard the news from her parents reading the newspaper. It was tough to swallow, she said. He left such a big impact, and it's still hard to adjust to him being gone.
Actor, comedian Bernard McCullough died early Saturday morning at Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago. A publicist for the 50-year-old says he passed away from complications due.
One of her favorite memories was filming a Christmas episode where Bernie talked about family traditions. In the episode, Brianna's eggnog was described as tasting like bath wash, a joke that still makes the cast laugh today. We laugh about those moments because they were more than just lines in a script. They were part of our real connection, she explained. Kellita also shared how some on-screen moments were real-life lessons. For example, in one episode, Brianna learned to tie her shoes, and she revealed she taught her how to do it during filming. It was magical, she said. The jokes, the delivery, and those little moments, they were comedy gold. Bernie was brilliant. For Kellita, working on the Bernie Mac show was a blessing. She said having him was a gift. I still think, wow, he was so talented and made everything feel special.
we bonded in a simple thing of getting a job, but really what came together was we connected as a family.
Let's talk about some behind-the-scenes moments shared by the cast and crew. Jeremy Suarez, who played Bernie's nephew Jordan, had plenty of funny memories. Bernie loved to joke around. I had this toy I'd use to poke him, and he'd yell, "Get off me, boy. You put that thing on me, I'm gonna throw it," Jeremy said with a laugh. We always tried to make each other laugh. During serious scenes, Bernie would stand behind the camera, pulling faces or sticking out his tongue. It became a game to see who could make the other crack up first. It was like training for the Olympics, but for acting. Camille Winbush, who played Nessa, shared a sweet and silly memory. Bernie had something called Sweetheart of the Month. He'd give a shout out to a crew member who worked hard and stayed positive. But Bernie didn't just announce it normally. One day he came on set and yelled, "I'm done! I'm quitting this show!" Everyone was shocked, and some even started crying. Then Bernie came back a few minutes later laughing and announced the Sweetheart of the Month with cake for everyone. He turned tears into laughter in minutes.
He brought us together. If it wasn't for him, we would not be the family that we are. So it was magical.
While Bernie loved teasing everyone, he especially liked pranking Kellita Smith, who played his wife, Wanda. In one episode, the kids had real snakes and mice as pets. Kellita admitted, "I can't deal with stuff like that. If there had been roaches, I would have quit." After shooting a scene, she ran to her dressing room, disgusted. Bernie saw an opportunity to mess with her. When she came back, he pretended to have something furry in his hand. Without thinking, Kellita grabbed his hand and freaked out. I was yelling and going off, and Bernie just laughed, saying, I told you."
What I didn't know is he actually called me from the hospital, and he had been hospitalized.
But sadly, Bernie Mac faced a tough health battle. In 2004, during the 4th season of The Bernie Mac Show, production had to stop because Bernie got sick. Unfortunately, his health problems didn't end there. In August 2008, Bernie's story took a sad turn. He was admitted to the hospital on July 24th because he had a fever and was struggling to breathe. For 17 long days, he fought for his life in the intensive care unit, relying on a ventilator to help him breathe. His sister-in-law, Marianne Grosset, shared how hard Bernie fought and how much the doctors tried to save him. "They worked on him," she said. "They tried to bring him back twice. He came back for about an hour the first time, but his heart stopped again." Bernie's wife, Rhonda, and their daughter, Janice, were by his side the whole time. After the first resuscitation, Bernie woke up for about an hour, but he couldn't speak to his wife or daughter. During the second attempt to revive him, his heart stopped for good. It was a deeply emotional time for his family, especially since Bernie and Rhonda hadn't been able to have a real conversation for more than a week. Rhonda later spoke about a strange and chilling moment she felt at the hospital. She described a cold gust of wind passing by her, which gave her a feeling that something was wrong. When she was allowed into Bernie's recovery room, she found him with his eyes wide open, trembling. It was a heartbreaking moment she would never forget. After Bernie passed away, Rhonda believed his death could have been prevented. She filed a lawsuit against one of Bernie's doctors, Dr. Renee M. Earls, claiming that he failed to give Bernie the care he needed when he was very sick. The lawsuit said Bernie went to Dr. Earls on July 17, 2008, about a week before going to the hospital. Bernie was feeling very sick. He had a fever, was extremely tired, and couldn't breathe well. He stayed in the doctor's office for 9 hours, but his condition didn't improve. According to Rhonda, the doctor ignored serious warning signs like Bernie's fast heart rate and trouble breathing. Even though Bernie was clearly in bad shape, Dr. Earls didn't call 911 or send him to the emergency room. The lawsuit says if Bernie had gotten urgent medical care that day, his life might have been saved. One doctor supported the lawsuit, saying timely care could have made a difference. Unfortunately, Bernie Mac passed away on August 9, 2008, leaving behind his family and millions of fans who loved him.
Because it's still like, wow, wow. And, and during the show, I was the only other adult. So a lot of my memories are with him.
When Bernie Mac passed away, his family was heartbroken. He was their everything. Rhonda, Bernie's wife of 30 years, was devastated when he died. In an interview, her sister said that Rhonda found comfort in her strong faith in God. That faith helped her get through the hard times. Rhonda and Bernie had a love that was rare, especially in Hollywood. They respected and cared for each other every single day, and she stayed by his side until the very end. For Kellita Smith, Bernie wasn't just a co-star to her. He was a mentor, a friend, and someone who believed in her talent. Losing him was heartbreaking, and she still gets emotional when she thinks about their last conversation. Kellita shared that Bernie called her about a big opportunity not long before he passed. "He called me from the hospital," she revealed. At the time, she didn't know he was already sick and hospitalized. That phone call meant everything to her. Bernie wanted her to open for him during his 4-month show at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas.
And of course, I was freaking out. I was like, did you say the MGM Grand? Wait a minute, what?
Right.
That's thousands of people. That's a concert.
Kellita was overjoyed and couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Did you say MGM Grand?" she remembered asking him. For a comedian, that's a dream come true. Bernie told her, "I've been looking for a female comedian to open up for me, and I couldn't find what I was looking for. But I watched you on set, and you've got it. You've got the timing." Hearing that from Bernie, someone she deeply admired, was overwhelming. She was excited, but also nervous. "I didn't even hang up the phone properly," she said. She started preparing herself for this huge opportunity, not knowing that Bernie was fighting for his life. Their plans were for June and July, but Bernie passed away in August 2008. That sudden loss hit hard. He was more than a co-star, he was a guiding force in her career. Kellita also reflected on Bernie's work ethic. He was passionate and gave his all to every project. Some, like their friend Reginald Ballard, believe the entertainment industry pushed Bernie too hard, but Kellita sees it differently. "He was a workhorse," she said. "He was someone you thought would never stop. He was unbreakable."
That's what all I can say is what Bernie told me. And he was upset with Steve because he said Steve tried to get him taken off for the Oceans movie he did.
Ocean's 11?
Yeah, and tried to vie for his part after he already got hired.
Although someone wanted to break him. I mean, if you were around in the early 2000s, you probably remember the original Kings of Comedy tour. This comedy tour was legendary. 4 comedians, Steve Harvey, D.L. Hewley, Cedric the Entertainer, and Bernie Mac, hit the road, making people laugh all over America. In a 2018 interview with Vlad TV, comedian D.L. Hewley opened up about the drama that stopped the second Kings of Comedy tour from happening. Fans were hoping for a sequel to the popular comedy tour, but things didn't go as planned.
Because the word motherfucker is a noun. It describes a person, place, or thing.
Hewley revealed that a big reason for the cancellation was a feud between 2 of the stars, Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey. According to Hewley, they didn't see eye to eye, and that tension got in the way of working together. Hewley remembered being on a golf course where they talked about bringing the tour back, but just a day later, it all fell apart. Bernie's decision to walk away put an end to their plans.
I remember I was at the golf course, and we were getting ready to put it together, and everybody was all excited. And
Hewley said that part of the problem was that the networks were giving Steve Harvey a lot more attention than Bernie Mac. Steve Harvey was getting more TV opportunities, which may have caused some tension. Later, Bernie started getting more recognition for his talent. Once he was getting the respect he deserved, he decided to go his own way.
You remember how the Lakers had Chris Paul for a second, and then the next day they didn't? That's how it was. Like, we was together, we were all excited, and the next day it didn't happen.
Each comedian had his own style. Steve Harvey, known as the smooth talker, liked to pick on audience members in the front row, often joking about their clothes, hair, or jobs. This playful roasting made him stand out and kept the crowd laughing. Bernie Mac had a very different style, though. His comedy was harder and often got into some of the tough realities of life. Rumors say Steve Harvey may have felt a bit jealous of Bernie Mac's style. This little tension is said to have sparked a rivalry between the two. Meanwhile, Cedric the Entertainer seems to have confirmed Hewley's claims. Cedric, who was a part of the tour along with D.L. Hewley, Steve Harvey, and Bernie Mac, confirmed that the 2 comedians did not see eye to eye. Yeah. I mean, they were the kind of guys that, they both alpha males, like, they just saw it different, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, they was able to get through it. he said while on Shannon Sharp's podcast Club Shay Shay. Cedric added that because of the feud, it had prevented them from doing another tour. I think, of course, that was, definitely a contributing circumstance. But I also think that it had a lot to do with the promoter on the thing, because he got a bigger head than all of us. The dude that put us all together started to really think was about him. So it started to be that. So it was a lot of those kinds of elements. Another person who confirmed that Bernie and Steve weren't on good terms is Ed Lover. The legendary DJ dropped a new episode of his Come On Son podcast on January 5th, where he backed up Williams' story that the comedian shared on the latest episode of the Club Shay Shay podcast. He goes on to say that he was supposed to be one of the kings of comedy, that they approached him after Bernie passed, he said in the episode, but he didn't want to go on the Kings of Comedy tour because of Steve Harvey's treatment of Bernie Mac. He has a lot of respect for Bernie Mac. After explaining that he'd been a friend of Bernie Mac's until the day he died, Ed Lover continued, "The stuff that Cat Williams said about Steve Harvey calling to try to get Bernie's role on Ocean's 11 and that kind of stuff, Bernie told me out of his own mouth. I believe Bernie Mac when he said Steve Harvey hated on him," he concluded. Bernie Mac would always be a comedy legend. He was also a generous person who wanted others to shine. He saw something special in Kellita, and his encouragement will always stay with her. Losing him left a hole in her heart, but his legacy and kindness continue to inspire her every day. For Kellita, Bernie wasn't just a star, he was a hero. His belief in her talent is something she'll treasure forever. And for his daughter, Janice, she has also been keeping her father's memory alive. She launched a podcast called Bernie's Daughter on October 5th, 2023, which would have been Bernie's 66th birthday. In her first episode, Janice shared a touching message to her dad. "You told me you would never leave me, and you've kept your promise," she said. She hopes the podcast makes him proud and shows the world how much she loves and misses him.